Hello there, merħba, and welcome back to Learning Maltese with me. Happy that you're still following these lessons. 6 lessons in. Today, the past tense in Maltese, probably one of my favorite lessons in this introduction series. And before we get into all of that, I do, as always, want to promote my italki page. If you're looking to continue learning Maltese beyond these 10 lessons, if you want to have some one-on-one interaction, you want a little bit more practice beyond just these basic lessons, because I do move at a very fast pace and there's certain things I just can't mention, otherwise the video will get too long. So you can check out my page over here. There's prices, availability, everything you need to make an informed decision. I am the only Maltese teacher on italki, as of recording at least, definitely the one with the most students and lessons to my name. Anyway, there's that, link in the description. Let's get to the past tense. So, if you take a look at the structure that I have over here, notice that I put the past tense at lesson 6 and then the present tense all the way down here in lesson 10. This is contrary to at least the way that we teach English. In English, we start with the present tense and then we move on to the past tense. What's the logic there? Because the present tense is easier than the past. The same is true in Maltese, in that the past tense is easier than the present tense. I also mentioned at the beginning that I love teaching the past tense because we had a little bit over here in the attached pronouns, but with the past tense and the conjugations, we start seeing a language which is truly made by the Arabs, the same people that invented or discovered, and that's a different debate for another time, mathematics. Maltese is a very logical language in its grammar. There's a lot of grammar to it, but the rules are defined. And I like that about the language, and we see this very clearly in the past tense. So, let's get to it. The past tense. First, I'll need to get to grammatical terms out of the way because I'm going to make reference to them as we move along in the class. Mamma and għerq. Mamma, obviously coming from the word mother, which perhaps a better word for it would be the stem of the verb. And then we have the għerq. The għerq is the root. Now I left a ... over here because the mamma, for all verbs, is essentially, I'll use my italics, what he did in the past. We're going to have 7 conjugations because we have 7 personal pronouns in Maltese. Jiena, inti, huwa, hija, aħna, intom, huwa. The mamma is going to correspond with what he did in the past. So huwa, the conjugation huwa. Furthermore, the mamma is what I would call the dictionary form of the verb. What does this mean? You open a Maltese dictionary, the quoted form of the verb is going to be the mamma, which is what he did in the past. The male, singular, third person, male conjugation. This is equivalent to, but not identical to, the infinitive in English. What is the infinitive? The infinitive is what we could also say is the dictionary form of the verb. When you look up a verb in Maltese, for example, the verb to dance, there you go, to dance, right? The to plus infinitive. That's what you find in the dictionary. To dance, to eat, to drink, to sleep, whatever. In Maltese, this is the mamma. Don't worry, we're going to see this concretely in the next page where we use an example. And then, very much related to the mamma is the għerq, the root. But I'll get into that a little bit later. Let's look at a verb. So, we're going to take the verb kiteb, to write, as our first example. And we have the conjugation over here. Let's read it together. Jiena ktibt, inti ktibt, huwa kiteb, hija kitbet, aħna ktibna, intom ktibtu, huma kitbu. So, question to you before I show you the answer myself. Which one of these is the mamma? We said so beforehand. The mamma is what he did in the past. So it's obviously this one. This is our special conjugation. This is the mamma. All right. We have a conjugation over here. And there are patterns. Patterns which emerge, which we can identify when we look at other conjugated verbs as well. What I'm going to do for now, though, is just divide these 7 conjugations into 2 different groups. Let's do that quickly. I'm going to call this group 1. This group 1 as well. Let's call this group 2. This is group 2. Back to group 1 over here. Also group 1 over here. And over here we're back to group 2. Group 1 share characteristics which are not the same as group 2. Group 2 have characteristics which are not found in group 1. Let's talk about the group 1 first, because they have the more identifiable characteristics. Ktibt, ktibt, yes, they are identical. The jiena and the inti, the conjugations are always identical in the past tense, not the present, in the past tense. Ktibt, ktibt, ktibna, and ktibtu. I think it's fairly obvious by now. KT, 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 and KT. This is what defines group 1, starting with 2 consonants. Specifically, we take the first 2 consonants from the mamma. Ktibt, ktibt, ktibna, ktibtu. That's the group 1. What's the group 2? The group 2, its leader is kiteb. Its leader is kiteb. Kitbet is just the feminized version of kiteb. And kitbu is just the plural version of kiteb. So, at the very least, we can see that I need a different way to identify these. Let's use the underline anyway. We have kit, kit, and kit. This is maintained. This is maintained. The rest of the transformation is because we're feminizing it, for lack of a better term, and pluralizing it as well. These patterns will become clearer when I introduce another example. And that's what we're going to do right now. Let's now conjugate the verb libes, which means to dress. So, jiena il-bist, inti il-bist, huwa libes, this is our mamma. Hija libset, aħna il-bisna, intom il-bistu, huma libsu. If we compare like for like, consonant and for consonant, between this and this, between libes and kiteb, we can see the same patterns emerging. Laba, 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 laba. Group 1, group 1, group 1, group 1. Kiteb as the leader of group 2, as for libes over here, we feminize it, lipset, and we pluralize it, lipsu. Which now leads me to formally introduce the suffix endings for conjugations in the past tense. The first person singular conjugation always needs to have a T. It always needs to end in a T. The same for the inti. Remember, jiena and inti, they're always the same. You know the jiena, you know the inti conjugation. Kiteb, I'm not going to say anything because this is the mamma. You either know it or you don't. There's no suffix for the stem, for the mamma. Kitbet, et, that is our feminine suffix. Na'a, for our first person plural suffix. Ta'u, and u. You may notice some similarities with the previous lesson attached pronoun suffixes. The na, and well, that's it really, just the na. But the ta and the ta in the past tense, they are closely associated with the jiena and the inti. The tu as well. The tu is just a plural form of the ta. Inti and intom, after all. Inti you singular, intom you plural. And the et, we have this vowel e, which is traditionally associated with feminine words. And we see it here as well, lip set. All right. I have not yet spoken in depth about the għerq, or the root. Now, if you know the mamma, knowing the għerq is really easy. I'm going to write them down over here. The għerq of kiteb is kataba. The għerq of libes is labasa. All we're doing is taking the three most important consonants, in all cases actually is the only three consonants from the mamma. You tell me, why bother doing this? What have we learned? We've just eliminated, we've made things simpler, not easier. Well, that's the whole point. By doing the għerq, we notice a few characteristics about verbs in Maltese. Notice the order of these three consonants over here as well. The K comes before the T, comes before the B. The L comes before the B, comes before the S. In that order. We can never switch them around. And notice, every single conjugation here obeys that order. The K comes before the T, comes before the B. The L comes before the B, comes before the S. Ignore the T's at the end. Ignore the NA, the TU, the U. Definitely ignore the vowels, but also these conjugation suffixes, because they are suffixes. They are outside of the mamma and its għerq. They are not part of the għerq. As far as the core verb is concerned, it must have the K, the T, and the B, the L, the B, and the S, and everything else. So, that is why we have the mamma. The mamma also helps us identify any word that comes from kiteb. By now, everybody should know how to say the word book in Maltese. Kiteb. Isn't that oddly similar? Not just that, but kiteb, which means book, a noun, it obeys the għerq rules. The K comes before the T, comes before the B. That's how I know that kiteb is related to kiteb. Should we have a word, I'm going to invent a word, I don't know, kbit, doesn't exist, okay? This is just as an example. Kbit. Yeah, it looks similar to kiteb, but we could never claim that kbit is actually related to kiteb. Why? The għerq. This is breaking the rule of the għerq. The B in this case comes before the T. So that's why the għerq is important. I will continue to make reference to both the mamma and also the għerq in all future lessons. Now, let's conjugate libes. We did that. Now, we have conjugate these verbs. The answers are in the description. I'm not going to talk too much about them. I do, if you want to challenge yourself, would ask you to do the għerq as well. So, for example, the first one, the għerq of daħal, is dakhala. The description has the conjugation, it has the translation. I'm just going to talk a little bit about these stars over here. These stars represent, I don't want to use the word difficulty, but deviance from the very, very standard conjugation of kiteb. Kiteb is as regular a verb as it gets. Libes as well. Daħaltu. Ħareġ, we're going to have a vowel change. It's no longer going to be the A featuring where the I features here and the I features here. It's going to be a different vowel. It's going to be the vowel E, in English letter I. For shorop, all I'm going to say is that if you've been following closely my lessons, note that shorop has the strong vowel O emerging twice. So that's going to affect one of the conjugation suffixes, specifically the feminine one. For amel and for ala, they're only slightly irregular just because we start off with a silent consonant. But when you do the conjugation, you could do it even with the information you have now. You'll notice that, okay, the sole change that we have for this conjugation makes a lot of sense, just by virtue of it having the ein. Now, exceptions to discuss. These are the verbs to be and the verb to have. These are always the most important verbs in any language. They are always irregular, almost always irregular in every language. I mean, from the languages I've studied, they are always irregular verbs. So I think it's good for me to conjugate these before we bring this lesson to a close. Kien, this means to be. Again, if you've been following my course, you'll know that the present tense of the verb to be doesn't exist. But the past tense does, and we're going to conjugate it right now. So, jiena kont, inti kont, huwa kien, this is our mamma. Hija kienet, aħna konna, intom kontu, huma kienu. Irregular, especially because we have this K-O-N-T. But notice that even despite its irregularity, still the concept of group 1 and group 2 is respected here, because kont, konna, and kontu share characteristics amongst themselves, and the kien, kiena, and the kienu share their own characteristics as well. So yes, group 1 doesn't start with 2 consonants, but at least within their group, they are similar. Kont, konna, and kontu. Even the conjugation suffixes are respected as well. Ta, the mamma is the mamma. Eta, na'a, ta'u, and u. Same as our regular verbs here. Now, ant. Okay, I didn't want to talk about it in the last lesson, but I said that ant, which literally means at, the preposition at, also doubles up as the verb to have. Andi, andek, andu, anda, anna, andkom, and andom. This is the present tense conjugation of our fake verb to have. You can see that conjugation in the description of this lesson, also in last lesson. In the past tense though, the conjugation of to have is kelli, kellek, kellu, kella, kellna, kelkom, kellon. I really wanted that to stay on the same line. Oh well. So, kellu is our mamma. So actually when I put ant over here, I should be putting kellu, because when I want to quote a verb, we always use the mamma. But I used ant because I wanted to talk about the present tense conjugation from the last verb. Yes, it has nothing to do with ant. We can accept this because, like I said, ant is a fake verb. It's actually the preposition at. We don't have a true present tense conjugation of the verb to have. We use this form instead. In the past tense, though, it is kelli, kellek, kellu, kella, kellna, kelkom, and kellom. Very irregular. Even over here, I have to be honest, the group 1 and the group 2 is not respected, not like kien. To have is a strange one, okay? It's a really strange one. Nevertheless, we can notice that the suffix conjugations here are also different from these ones. These align with the attached pronoun suffixes that we did in the previous lesson as well. So the verb to have overall is just a fake one meant to trip us up, but it's just one verb. I believe in you. You can learn it. All right, that's basically it for today. Thank you very much for your attention. As a quick reminder, I am on italki. Would love to meet you one-to-one, answer all of your questions, teach you some more Maltese. And until next time, thank you very much. Grazzi u saħħa.